Welcome, another Rider Cam
Another
TV
squinty
video.
day in the sun.
Yeah,
We're ripping through these videos.
we are. Good, going really well, isn't it? Got loads of things to come, but look at this. INNOVV have sent us their cream of the crop, their top of the line K5 dash cam.
Got it on your bike, haven't you?
I have. I fitted it already because I couldn't wait. But if you'd seen the K3 video, probably a couple of weeks ago, whenever that came out, the camera's presented in exactly the same way. You open it up.
There was a fly came out of there then.
You get a lovely whiff of 3M tape.
Oh, behave yourself.
Lovely cut. You know, the box, I've got to say about the box, it's one above the K3 actually. They've actually got pictures on it. It's actually quite nice to look at. And they thought a lot about what you get and how it's presented. I really like it.
It's making me sick the way you're spinning it. Almost seasick.
But this one has got full 4K Ultra HD recording on the front.
4K or 4K?
4K. And full
That's confusing. 5K and it's a 4K.
No, this is a K5, which is their model,
okay.
INNOVV,
Okay.
but it records in 4K Ultra HD on the front camera. So if you see that picture, this is the front camera, and we'll show you where it's all fitted in a minute. But that camera is really quite big, and I found that quite difficult, kind of a downside, quite difficult to mount in a certain place.
And you had not much space then, that's what you're trying to say. Whereas my bike has got plenty of space. How did that happen? Okay, all right.
Yeah. Perhaps you want to get a proper bike.
That cine camera I've got on mine is no good.
But that
Proper bike?
So all of the processing for the 4K happens within that box. So they've had to put the main unit on the front camera, which creates a bit of a problem really, because you're limited to where you can put that, because that's got to be in a sturdy place. If I've tried mounting it on the plastics on the beak and it was wobbling as we were riding, so I've mounted it properly and I'm happy where it's mounted, but it's quite...
You think the wheel's such a good place to put it?
the wires get tangled up, but I'm happy with where it's mounted now. But the one thing that I didn't like about this front camera, and there's nothing saying that you have to put the 4K camera on the front, you could put it on the rear, but then you get the worst of the two recording on the front if you were to do it that way. But it's only about that long before the end of the cables come out of this front camera. So on my bike, the 1250 GSA, trying to route that through was really, really difficult. So I ended up with a spider's nest right up underneath the windscreen of the bike, which you'll see in a minute, and it's all taped and wrapped in there. It's fine. I would have perhaps liked the cables coming out the end of there, probably about that long, so that those cables could come well away from the camera underneath the seat, and then the spider's nest be underneath the seat
or a system where they could plug in the back or something like that.
Yeah.
So what you're actually saying is it's not on the right bike.
Well, it quite clearly is. But
the baby GSA has got loads of space.
Well, it goes to show that these cameras are really, really good. They're easy to fit. The hard thing about it is routing the cables. And these people like INNOVV, all the other manufacturers are never ever going to win, are they?
No.
Because everybody's got a different bike. So everybody's got different issues. So if they put a 2-foot cable on the back of there, it would be wrong for some bikes. I'm just saying for my bike, I found it a little bit fiddly trying to get it in there. It took about 2.5 hours to fit. The fitting was done in like 20 minutes. The connections was done in 20 minutes. The testing of it was done in about 20 minutes.
It was
the routing of the cables, and I actually had to take some of the panels off the bike, which I didn't have to do on the last camera.
Okay.
I just fed it through. But it comes with a GPS sensor, and the GPS sensor is really good. I'll show you where I've mounted that. I've got a little button, same as the K3, which shows you whether it's working on the GPS, the Wi-Fi is working, whether it's actually recording, and it gives you the ability to either save pictures or to protect files if something happens, which is really good. And I've mounted that on my windscreen, on my... What do you call it when you look behind? Those things. Wing mirrors, that's it. Yeah. Mounted it on the bottom of my wing mirror.
I've got a bike somewhere.
Mounted it on the wing mirror stalk, which is looks really good actually, and I've been able to send the cable through really neatly. It comes with its own little power DC converter, same as the K3, really easy to hide, and I've hidden that underneath the ECU of the bike. Rather than putting it on top, the whole ECU came out, so I put it with all the cables underneath.
All right.
Took a bit of fiddling, but it's gone in there nicely. The connections for this camera exactly the same as the K3. You can't get them wrong. They've got either female, male connections, different colours, different pin connotations, and the instructions are really, really good.
Oh, don't open them now.
No,
They're blown away like a kite.
They fold out. You need a small field.
Don't do
fold
it.
them
Don't do
out,
it. Dangerous.
It shows you where they're connected, and it actually says on the instructions how many pins there are. You can't get it wrong. You really can't get it wrong. And do you know the best bit?
It smells.
No,
Oh.
the recording is really good. The app is really good. So this one, this K5 works on 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, but it also works on the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Now the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi is much quicker. That's really important. It's really important. So you're stood by the side of the road. So you've got two options. Take the SD card out, put it in your computer, get your recordings. Or go on the app and download them to your phone through the app. Because it's 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi connection, it's really quick. I've got it set up to record minute intervals that overwrite each other when the card's full. And I think each one is about 199, 200 meg, something like that. It takes like 2 or 3 seconds to download onto the phone. And I know that the previous dash cams we've had on bikes takes ages, doesn't it? It's sometimes really fiddly. They are exceptional videos, actually.
Good.
Really, really steady. They work really well. And the app, although I think it probably could do with a little bit of updating in terms of the icons looking a little bit more modern, and perhaps some of the English being more English, if that makes sense, it actually works really, really well.
Brilliant.
Really well.
Let's go and do it then, eh?
Really like it. So we'll go and show you how I've got it fitted, and then we'll perhaps look at some of the recordings.
Okay.
Right, now we're talking about that K5 4K Ultra HD front camera with a 1080 HD. I can't get my words out today. Camera on the back. So I'm going to show you where I've mounted it. Rather than show you me mounting it, you'd be here for hours. So let's not do that.
It took you 20 minutes to fit it, apparently.
Well, no, it took me about 3 hours.
The routing was a long time.
Oh,
Anyway,
it's a real pain.
let's have a look.
This is the 4K front camera from the K5 INNOVV system. Now, it is rather big. So, you know, that's against my hand. It is a big unit, and it's really difficult to hide it. So I know that a bike thing, another YouTuber, he has got, for the other things, he makes one of these with a cut in there that actually fits in there, but it won't fit this camera. It only fits like the K3, the bullet cameras. This one I've got mounted. Now you can get from INNOVV another mount which goes from this bolt over to this bolt and allows you to mount it on like a GoPro-y type thing. But I found that just mounting it with the clamps that are sent with it and the bolts, I mean, that's steady as a rock, isn't it?
I'm just trying.
Hopefully you can see it.
Get your big fingers out of the way then.
So it's really good. Now, if you zoom in on the side here, Mark, there are 2 screw holes, or 2 screws. Now, you have to unscrew those. In behind there is your SD or your computer connection in there, but your SD card is in there. I like the fact that this is unscrewable, and the little door's got like a rubber seal around it which keeps it waterproof, which is good because I don't see that I'm ever going to have to remove that to take the card out, and if I do, I can do it with my thumb. You know, it's got like little indentations on there, like a little thumb screw, so that's not too bad. Lots of people I think are worried about the camera being quite conspicuous on the bike, and
Some places they're illegal, aren't they?
Germany don't like them, do they?
But you know, I've ridden through Germany, I've got cameras on my bike,
Yeah. I mean,
cameras on the side of my helmet.
You know, ultimately, if I ever got stopped in a country that didn't like them, I'd just say, well, if you don't like them, I'll just disconnect the fuse and turn it off. It's not difficult, is it? But there are a couple of things with mounting this that I found really difficult. So I'm not sure whether you can see this zip clip cable tie here.
I can.
The reason that is there, I chose black because it molds into my triple black. Now it's quadruple black.
And sleep when you wake up. You won't remember this conversation.
Yeah, in my eye, looking into my eyes, not around the eyes. Now, behind this plastic, I have got.
Can I see that?
Loads of wires. Hopefully, you'll be able to see. You'll see the yellow and green tape that I've put around there. You might not be able to see, and I'll take a picture and put it up on the screen. But that's where all my wire connections are, because the connections come out of this unit, and they're probably about that long, which I found for this bike and the fitting of it, because this is the front camera, really difficult. You imagine the amount of distance I've got to come back to the battery, so you're probably talking about that far, but you've only got that much to connect all the wires. So I would rather have all gone into one lump so that I could feed it through, you know, almost like a sheathing round all those cables, so I could feed it through in one go and then connect it down underneath the seat and lose the connections. But that being said, I found a way around it. It's really neat from the front. Unless I pointed out that cable tie, you're not going to be able to see it. And the camera is mounted in just the right place. So then what I've done, if you've come over this way, Mark, is I have mounted all of the cables up in behind the screen. Then they come down and they're all zip tied or cable tied and black taped up all the way through. And then I removed this cover, this whole cover I had to remove, because the cables come down here and then underneath the seat. But before we go that far, look at this, look. You know, on the BMW you get this really quite pointless tray.
I don't know, it's handy to put your...
Well, I've got my garage door opener in there, which I do take out. I don't leave it on the bike, so if you do see the bike, it's not in there. What I've done, though, is I've drilled a hole in the back here, and there is my microphone. So, when I'm sat on the bike, all I've got to do is undo that microphone and stick it up into the helmet, and then I can use that to vlog my videos if I wanted to.
So that microphone plugs into all those connections that are hanging out of the box?
So that's one of the connections. So if you see what I mean, all the connections are right up the front in a place that's really difficult to get rid of all of those wires. It's not a deal breaker, because the deal breaker, or the deal doer if you like, is the quality of the camera, and it's exceptional, it really is. So I've used that little useless tray for a bit of a use for me, and you get the little microphone with a clip and a little dead cat type thing or a muffler on it. So then what I've done, I'm going to take the seat off a minute. Right, what I've done in here is I've taken the seat off. Now, I was a bit worried when I did this. First bike I've had with heated seats, but just if anybody else is fitting one of these, if you disconnect that and start the bike up, it's not going to throw any errors up. I was really worried about that. And I thought, I won't start the bike up unless all this is plugged in, because BMW is just a pain. But it worked fine. The little power DC connector is actually underneath here. So to remove that, there's a little clip here, and the whole of this silver and black bit actually comes up and out. Doesn't give you much room, but it gave me enough room to route all of these wires that have come down, all down into the side, underneath there, and that little DC converter is underneath, out the way, which I found really good.
It's a good idea.
That's where I've got the auxiliary ignition thing, so when it turns on it recognises and sends power. Now, there is another bit of a downside to this, and I think on Teapot 1 Bruce also had the same issue. Fitting that DC converter to this bike is a really good way of powering the cameras, but it brings up one issue. This inline fuse is not far enough away from that DC converter to actually be able to hide it anywhere. So the reason I've had to put it there is... On this bike. And he's got a GS as well. And the reason that I say that is because I would have liked that to have been perhaps 2 or 3 or 4 inches further away from that DC commander, or that DC converter, to enable me to hide it, because the battery is in underneath here. So it's a bit of a pain. But having said that, I've got it all mounted, and that is it for the front. And then come round the back here, Mark, and I have got my rear camera.
Ooh.
Now what I've done on this rear camera is I've fitted it onto the ignition, no, what's this? Indicator, that's it. I had to undo 2 screws.
It's weird because that's a BMW and it's got indicators.
Yeah, they work on here as well, although they cancel themselves far too quick. There's a screw up here and a screw up that side, and the whole of this tray comes down, and then I unscrewed that, and again, using INNOVV's adapters, I've got an L bracket with their spacer and then the bracket that goes over the camera. Now I did realise that to get the camera up the right way, the INNOVV has to be at the top. So I've set that up in the right place, screwed it in, and then the cables for this run all the way along the side. They go up through underneath here, and then underneath into the, well, they don't go to the power converter actually, they go all the way up
To the front.
all the way up through here, all the way up through here, and then into the back. So hence my reasoning that if there was a way that they could put the connections further away from the main box, I think it would solve a lot of problems for a lot of people. But having said that, it's a really good unit. So I'm going to start the bike up, the ignition, let it do its stuff, and you'll notice on here, this is where I have got the button fitted. Doesn't it look as though it's a professional
That looks
fitting?
really good,
The
that.
cable goes down and around, it's all out of sight, which is brilliant. See, it's flashing now, or it was flashing green there, so it's turning the video on, and in a minute you'll see that the Wi-Fi starts flashing. I think it's blue, and then we get a light on the GPS. Now the lights are quite bright in the dark or in the shade, but I've noticed that when you've got really good sunlight behind you, you can't really see those indicators.
Do you need to see them though?
I don't know. When I was riding and testing it, I'm thinking to myself,
Is it on?
is it on? Is it on? Is it on? Anyway, so now we've got all of those. So you can see that it started up itself. I can then go into the app. Right, so I've set it up. Okay. So it displays its Wi-Fi setting.
It's hard to see.
Got no internet connection, but it shows that I've got the Wi-Fi 5G INNOVV, and you can rename that as well. So now that I've got that set, I can go into the app. There's several tiles on the app, so you get a video camera or a camera, so you can actually see what the camera's seeing at the time live, and it's really, really good. So you can actually see that the front is set up, the back set up, so you can get the angle and all that sort of stuff right. It gives you information down the bottom, loads and loads of stuff. You can swish it around so you've got the front and rear on there, just front, just rear, or you can just show, the main one being the front with the small one showing the rear. In your settings, there's loads of settings that you can do. You can rename the Wi-Fi, the password for your Wi-Fi password, which I have done because it's set to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So change it if you've got one. It tells you what frequency you're set on, your activation of your Wi-Fi, which is on or off. I wouldn't suggest turning it off because then you can't connect to it. You can change the resolution. So your resolution, you can go 4K 30 frames, and 1080p 30 on the back, 4K 30 on the front, 720p 30 on the back, 2K and 1080p, 2K, 1080p with different frame rates, and 1080p on both, or 1080p and 720p. It will mean a lot to some people, but I just left it as 4K. Bitrate, that has got something to do with how quickly or how efficiently it sends it to your memory card apparently, so I've got that set on high. Image orientation front and rear, so you can flip them if the only place you've got to put them is upside down or on a side, so you can get them right. You can change your loop recording from 1 minute all the way up to 10 minutes. Now the reason I've changed mine to, or left mine at 1 minute, say you're recording and you're riding and suddenly you get a corrupt file. If you're on 10-minute recording, you've lost 10 minutes of your recording. If it's corrupt, you've only lost 1 minute. So that's why I've left it there. The video format is an interesting one. In the UK, MPV4 or MP4 even is the preferred one to put it into an editor of some sort. TS is the other one. That will work. I'm not sure why there's two in there. I think it's different country standards. But the MP4 means that I can put that straight into Final Cut Pro and edit and put it on the video that you'll see in a minute. You can have time-lapse recording on and off. I've left that off. I don't see any need for that. Encoding, you can have different encoding methods, 264, 265, which is, I think 265, H265 is better. You can preview your recording switch, front and rear, front or rear and front. I know there's loads of it. And you can set the microphone volume as well. For that microphone that I fed in there, which is really good, from 20% off, 20%, 40, 60, 80 or 100%, and I set mine at 60 because I'm still playing around with the sensitivity of it and I want it to be really quiet. You put the date and time on there, speed, units, kilometres an hour or miles per hour. You can have a GPS.
Can you put your reg number on it?
You can. You can have a GPS watermark on there. You can have all of them, or the speed, or the coordinates, or off. I've just got mine as speed. GPS, you can have that displaying on the bottom and it gives you the longitude and latitude as you're going along, which is quite good to have a look at. And that, I think that's why it goes onto the map when you're watching the video. You can change the GPS hertz. I've just left that standard, and watermark text comes with INNOVV, and I'm sorry INNOVV, but I've changed that and I've put RCTV for Ridercam TV. Card capacity, it shows you what you've got in there, what's on there, what you've got remaining in terms of
size card
gigabyte.
is it?
I've put a 32 gig card in there at the moment. You can format it from here. It tells you whether there's a card inserted. You could turn off the parking monitor, which is really good. I've got mine off because, well, the bike is there. I've got insurance for that and a tracker. You know, I don't want to run the battery down. Gravity sensor, you can change the gravity sensitivity, so it will save files automatically if it notices something going wrong. Uses an accelerometer. I think that's to keep it up at the right side. Light source frequency, you can change that if you want. I've left that. You can update the time, clear the cache, restore the factory settings, and it tells you what app and device version you're using. So if you update it, and all the description and the instructions of how to update it, although a little bit convoluted, you've got to do it on the card in the computer, put a file on there, put it in, set it up, and it does its stuff.
Can you order pizza from it?
No, but I've got a phone and I can do that. There's an app for that. However, the good thing about the app is you can see what it's recording right now if you wanted to. If you stood there and thought, I need to change the orientation of the camera or what it's looking at. You can also go into the document icon, and you can actually go into the camera files and see what continuous files have been recorded, what parking files have happened, accident videos if it's put them in there, protected videos if you've pressed your button. If you press your button twice, I think, you get a saved picture as well. And I know that some vloggers and people have used this system and they've done that when like an eagle's come across and they've been able to crop right in. But you can also see local files. So on your local files, you've got mobile video and app video, and they download really quickly. So I'm going to download one from the camera, one from the continuous videos. So you just wait a couple of seconds for it to register what is on the camera itself. You can either have all of them in one long list, or you can have front or rear. So I'm just going to look at the front, and I'm going to squiz down to a random video where we're out on the road, 199 meg. Click on it and it says, do you want to download it, play it online or delete it? So you've got full control from your phone. I'm going to download it. It's at 10%, 20%.
That's
30%.
pretty quick. That's pretty quick.
Yeah, 40%. This is like 200 meg. We're at 60% now already. It's been, what, a couple of seconds? And I think this is the deal breaker from a lot of other dash cams where it takes a long time to download those files to your phone or your computer. So if I now go back and have a look at my local files and my app, there it is. And when it plays, it's really good. Not only do you get the sound, because it's recording sound all the time, as you can probably hear, I don't know, but you get full immersive video from the front or the back, because I've set it up that you can't really see any of the bike, but it also follows the map.
Wow.
With a little bike, and you can change the icon to a bike and God knows what else, but it actually follows the app along.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
When it's playing. You can have it on full screen as well, and it's really good quality. I'm so impressed with the quality of the camera, it's unbelievable. Really, really impressed with that.
Good.
So let's just come out of that.
So we like it then?
Really like it, but it doesn't stop there.
Oh, there's more. Really?
Mark's getting bored holding the camera.
I am. I'm getting cold.
Really? So on this INNOVV app, I think they could improve the look of the app, because it just looks a bit basic, but basic is good for a lot of bikers. Bear in mind you might be wearing gloves.
It'd be ideal for me.
Yeah. You can do all your settings, but there are links here, not only to give feedback, they've taken a big space up there, but you can also click on different things like the user guide, the forum, and it all goes through to their website. Now, a lot of people say, well, this is a load of old rubbish, but I think it's really good, because as these get updated and you update the firmware and you click on the tile to go to the user manual is always going to be up to date for the unit with the newest firmware. So if something changes from this week to next week in between me updating a new firmware, I can go to the right place to get the right information, as opposed to seeing something that's now out of date. So I think it's really, really good. So let's put some video of riding along right now, so you'll be able to see. So hopefully you'll be able to see us going down the road, the quality of the camera, and the fact that you can pick out so much within that video, both front and now rear, and I'll put them halfway, half each. You can split them around, you can do whatever you want in post, but I'm also going to do a bit of talking on the camera and see what the sound sounds like as well, just to give you an idea. Got the microphone set up into my helmet. It's clipped on my lower, almost chin guard, I think, of the helmet inside, and it's clipped right up the front of my helmet, and I'm hoping that that will provide a really, really nice audio sound. This is an audio test on an INNOVV K5 at 60 miles an hour. It's quite windy today, so I'm hoping that the microphone on the camera actually shows up. So I reckon, firstly, thank you to INNOVV for sending us this awesome kit. Now you are very special people. Ridercam TV viewers can get a 5% discount on anything on the INNOVV site.
How much?
5% discount.
5%?
Yeah. You're saying 5% isn't an awful lot?
No, I'm saying it's a lot.
Really good, because this camera system is, I think, £399. Sounds an awful lot, but if you've got something on your bike that when you're riding, if there's ever a discrepancy with what's happened at an incident or an accident, you can then say, well, actually, officer or whoever, I've downloaded it and I wasn't to blame. This is what happened. Bear in mind, it will also be used against you if you're doing 160 down the motorway and somebody says you've got a camera and they seize the card from in there. It becomes evidence, doesn't it? But I think £399 after the bit of faff of fitting it is a small price to pay for 4K recording, 1080p on the back, with sound, the ability to talk on the camera if you wanted to. So for those of you who are going on a tour, you could be going down the Picos Mountains talking about it on the actual recording rather than having extra cameras all over the place. It will keep running forever and just overwrite itself depending on the size of the card you've got in there. But
brilliant.
Really good system. So go to our website, have a look at our partners page or our top kit page, and there is a link there. Link will be in the bottom of the description. You can get 5% off thanks to INNOVV for providing that. 5% is a really good discount on this system. So grab yours and put it on your bike, have a nice ride, record your stuff. Mark's going, yeah, end of the video now. And no, but a really good camera system. Thank you, INNOVV. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. It really does help. Hit the subscribe button. Check out your discount as well. It's an ongoing discount as far as I know, so it's not going to expire. Consider this system. Really, really good system. I love it.